Hello guys, I am Rupak Banerjee once again with my book vlog. In my last vlog, it was more of a impulsive vlog where I did not prepare much for the vlog. And I thought that it was an impromptu action on my part. But sharing my love of books and the way I wanted to share my love of books, the books that I am reading and the books that I wanted to read with the friends across, I have tried to prepare a little bit for this vlog today. In the last 40 years, I'm in love with books. And I've already shared in my earlier blog the people who have helped me in my love of books and growing in my love of books. Saving the textbooks, which I had great pains to myself, I had got rid of myself after I completed my post graduation. After I got into a corporate job, and I started buying a lot of books and reading a lot of books. I joined a lot of social network platforms and forums where I kept on reading more and more about books. And in one of those social network forums, I met one of my best friends today, Vineet. So if you could keep on interacting with people more and you learn more from them, also enrich your experience as a book lover. As well as I keep on visiting a lot of offline and online book fairs. Nowadays, because of the COVID pandemic, the offline fairs are lesser in number. We have more online fairs where we buy the books and then they are delivered to our home directly. I have had an opportunity of traveling across the country over a period of time because of my corporate job in marketing. And I had the opportunity of buying books from various parts of the country, starting from Kolkata, from where I belong, to Guwahati, Orissa, yes, Bhubaneswar, Pune, where I was there for some time, and a longer part of my book collection came from southern India, Bangalore and Ernakulam. So I have, of course, yes, of course, I should mention over here Daryaganj, because from the time of 2010 to 2017, I was in a company which had its headquarters in Gurgaon, and I had to travel to Gurgaon almost every month, once or twice. But unfortunately, I came to know about Daryaganj much later, and I had the opportunity of only visiting twice the Daryaganj market because it was on a Sunday. The Daryaganj market used to come out. So I had only opportunity of twice visiting Daryaganj, and I envy the people who have visited Daryaganj for n number of days, n number of weeks, and collected and enriched their collection from there. So the first book that I will discuss today is, of course, from my favorite genre of detective novels. This book is a pretty hefty tome of more than 587 pages. This is the Oxford Book of Detective Stories. It's an international selection and it is published by the Oxford University Press from Hong Kong. And I must mention here, because I found it very interesting, that it is printed on acid-free paper. This book contains 37 short stories, short detective stories. And this anthology may not be directly related to the golden age of fiction, but there are pretty few over here which belongs to the 1920s and the 1930s. And all the very international flavor of detective fiction comes in here handy in these 587 odd pages. So let me take you through the first few pages of the book and the contents. As you can see, starting from Emil Gabue to Arthur Conan Doyle, Raymond Chandler, Earl Stanley Gardner, Agatha Christie, Dashiell Hammett. This book has many of the famous writers. And it also has some Japanese authors whose books I have not yet read, but they come very highly recommended. This book has almost a eclectic collection of detective fiction. The preface is written by, the introduction is written by Patricia Craig, and who in my opinion has given a very, very exhaustive introduction as an editor. The book is pretty thick, as you can make out. And these are the authors. I have not mentioned James Thurber, George Simenon, Ellery Queen, Ian Rankling, and of course, for Maurice Leblanc of the Arsène Lupin fame. So this collection actually helps us to understand the divisions of the genre in detective fiction, starting from the who done it to how done it and then to why done it. This is what I like and love about detective fiction. The very next book is also from my favorite detective genre, The Masterpieces of Mystery, selected by Ellery Queen. This comes in a very, very handsome hardbound hardcover book, 351 pages, published by Davies Publication, and it's a treasure to me. This is The Golden Age Volume 1, and it contains 12 very, very nice detective stories. I must mention the 3 stories I have read as of now here: The Dead Man's Mirror by Agatha Christie, The Hunt Ball by Freeman Wills Crofts, and The Yellow Slugs by H.C. Bailey. But there are other very, very famous stories over here by Milne, A.A. Milne, The Lesson in Crime, The Dollar Chasers by Earl Stanley Gardner. What I loved about this book was that every story has a small write-up about the author, and the printing is immaculate, fabulous. I have also got this book from an old bookseller in Kolkata, and I can tell you without any hesitation that I got a bargain. Let me give you a glimpse of this book here. So this is how the print looks like. And these are the contents. So another nice thing about this book is that every protagonist of the detective is mentioned. Apart from the detective fiction, I also love another subgenre called the sword and sorcery. But as we are talking about English books here, let us talk about the father figure, Robert E. Howard. Robert E. Howard, as we all know, and if you can visit Wikipedia, you will find all information about Robert E. Howard. What we don't generally remember is that Robert E. Howard committed suicide at the age of only 30. And unfortunately, by that time, he had only just started to get his fame as a writer. Majority of his works got collected later. He has been writing, and his love of writing has been influenced by Jack London, Rudyard Kipling, and Thomas Bulfin. It is also known that his friends found him an eidetic memory. He could remember long poems, long poetry, just by reading them once. And at an early age in his life, his father was a doctor. At an early age in his life, he got attracted towards boxing. And that led to some of those very, very detailed hand-to-hand combat scenes that we see in his stories. Though Conan the Barbarian is his very famous character, but the very first character about whom he wrote and submitted his story was Kull, Kull, who was also a barbarian. But the first novel, The Shadow Kingdom, was published in Weird Tales in 1929. But the very first published character of Howard to make a mark was Solomon Kane, whose story The Red Shadows was published in August 1928 issue of the Weird Tales. At that time, he got success because of his publications in the Weird Tales. The Bloody Crown of Conan. This book contains 3 sword and sorcery adventures, including his only Conan novel. The first one is The People of the Darkness, which was published in 1934, The Hour of the Dragon, which was published in 1935, and A Witch Shall Be Born, published in 1934 once again. This book comes fully illustrated by Gary Gianni, and this book has 366 pages. It's a great grab for people who love the sword and sorcery subgenre. Let me give you a glimpse of the book. There is a praise for Robert E. Howard. Some of the illustrations, pretty nice, I must say. All are in black and white. And these are the contents. Apart from the 3 stories, they also have other appendix and miscellaneous untitled synopsises. 366 pages of great action. In fact, the very first story relates to India, the people of the Black Circle. So I was very happy to find the reference to Vendya. So I strongly recommend lovers of sword and sorcery to get a hold of this copy, which I also got for a bargain from Mumbai. There is a small story behind the choice of my next book that I am going to share with you today. One evening, around 4 or 5 months back, I was watching TV with my family, and there was a movie, Hindi movie, coming in an OTT platform. And the movie was starred by Mithun Chakrabarti. Apparently, I was not interested in the movie first. But then, I insisted that, okay, let me complete the first half an hour. And that was the clinching part. After I watched that movie, I was so moved by the idea behind the movie. I got the book from Amazon. Your Prime Minister is dead. The mysterious circumstances which still shroud the incidents which led to the death of our second Prime Minister, Pandit Lal Bahadur Shastri, at Tashkent. In my very first blog, I have already mentioned about Anuj Dhar in my book, in another book, Conundrum. So Anuj Dhar is a very, very proficient writer and a very, very good researcher. In this book, he has researched about the circumstances leading after the death of Pandit Lal Bahadur Shastri. 289 pages of excellently researched and excellently written book. He has divided the book into 11 chapters, and he has taken up each chapter meticulously. I bought this book from Amazon, and I recommend to people who love a non-fiction, but to read it like a thriller, action thriller. This is the book for you. Let me give you a glimpse of the book by Anuj Dhar, Your Prime Minister is Dead. It's published by Vitasta. 289 pages, as I told you. And this is the contents, 11 chapters. And it was reprinted in 2020, not very old. There is nothing of a typing error or any printing hazards in the book. This is how Anuj Dhar looks like. This is back side of the book. Strongly recommend this book to people who love to know about the mysteries of Indian politics. So this brings us to the very last book of today's vlog. And this talks about a man. The author is somebody who failed his university entrance examination. And then he had to stay back at home reading and writing for 1 whole year. Then he got his graduation also 1 year longer than the normal conventional people. It took him 4 years to get his graduation, that is 1 year more. But later on, that man became awardee of the 2nd and the 3rd highest civilian honor of our country. He went also become a member of the higher house, the upper house of our parliament. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am talking about the man who gave us Malgudi and who gave us Swami and his friends. I am talking about none other than R.K. Narayan. And this book I happened to chance on a book fair by Bookchor in Kolkata. The Best of R.K. Narayan, Timeless Malgudi, Selected Fiction and Non-Fiction. Published by Rupa. This book contains under the Selected Fictions category, Swami and his friends. There are excerpts of it, The Talkative Man, An Astrologer's Day, A Horse and Two Goats, Under the Banyan Tree, The Guide, and The Mispaired Amulet. The Mispaired Anklet. Under the Selected Fiction, Non-Fiction category, it contains My Days, an excerpt, The Misguided Guide, The Problems of the Indian Writer, and My Dateless Diary. Friends, I am not qualified enough to give you an idea about what R.K. Narayan is. R.K. Narayan had a friend in Graham Greene, and his first book was published after Graham Greene recommended his book in the British media. And the technique that R.K. Narayan employs is unpretentious in nature, with a natural element of humor about it. This book comes with an excellent foreword by David Davidar. The cost of the book, as mentioned over here, is 395 rupees, but I bought it for a throwaway price at a Bookchor book fair recently in Kolkata. So that brings us to the end of my vlog today. I have tried to bring in at least 5 books today, out of which 2 are of the detective fiction category, 1 is from the sword and sorcery category, 1 is absolutely non-fiction of a political nature, mysterious political nature, and 1 of a timeless gem of Indian writing, R.K. Narayan. So guys, if you have liked my vlog, please subscribe and keep looking forward to my next vlogs. Thank you very much. Good night.